Ladies and gentlemen, we are now gathered to induct the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And ladies and gentlemen, I think it's very fitting that we've inducted the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame on the same day that it's the birthday of one of the greatest hardcore wrestlers in history, one of the godfathers of this sport, one of the men that some would say is the greatest of all time, or at the very least in the discussion and in the Mount Rushmore. That is none other than the Funkster himself, Terry Funk. And the reason that I bring his name up, because our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame is one of the greatest hardcore champions in XCW history. 5 times he held that XCW Hardcore Championship. He also held the World Heavyweight Championship famously. He has held the New Age Championship. He has also held now the EBW Championship, which has put him back on the map. And this kind of road to Summer Mania, and maybe road to the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, might have been a bumpy one. But when you think about Extreme King, which is the go-home show, kind of like our Royal Rumble, to WrestleMania XCW, you might want to say that our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame made the most extreme-like impact, because in addition to him winning that EBW championship, he was the one that said for weeks upon weeks he was secretly recording EBW. And it's funny because several months ago when he was here on this platform, we were trying to figure out, was he an EBW hopeful, or some would say an EBW reject? But actually, now he's the guy that's standing on top of EBW. He's the guy that's got the gold, whereas EBW's empty-handed, and it seems like fingers are being pointed. And what is the future of EBW? As a matter of fact, EBW right now is in such shambles that even our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame was even able to dump a man that he actually scored one of his biggest moments off in, Chris Jones, who wasn't even in the whole Extreme King Battle Royal. And our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, though, has already been in a Hall of Fame. He is certainly a member of the XCW Hall of Fame. When you think about his career at XCW, time has certainly flew. 10 years he has now been in XCW about. But when you think about the history of XCW, we've long talked about the legacy of XCW. XCW standing the test of time. XCW being a gold standard in backyard, underground, and semi-pro wrestling. It's really our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame who's been right up there, kind of under the radar, with some of the greats in XCW history, like, God rest his soul, Kurt Acid, who was in our Hall of Fame. Certainly Fletch. Obviously, Fletch is certainly the man that started it all. The likes of Justin Parsley, who oddly enough is the only 3-time Sportswire Radio Hall of Famer who kind of weaseled his way into XCW. Some would say it has weaseled himself into the XCW Hall of Fame, and 3 times a Sportswire Radio Hall of Famer. Certainly the man that he defeated to take that EBW championship from Jackson Law. And it's funny because I guess, what does EBW think now? Maybe they were better off with Jackson Law as champion? It doesn't matter. And even a man that's in our Hall of Fame who Julian Void Jacobs one-upped once again, and Chris Jones. We can go on and on and on about some of the all-time greats in the Mount Rushmore of XCW. Corey Lee, and obviously we think about other names that have been here, and it's a long list of people in XCW history that have done it all and has helped this company grow. But Julian Void Jacobs, it seems to me now, is about to get his due. And maybe he's about to get his receipt after all, because certainly he's been one of the more under-the-radar guys in XCW history. But it looks like now he's about to make possibly his most extreme impact with a Void-like front ahead. And when you think about the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, and especially the XCW Hall of Famers, everybody's story is different. Everybody's got a journey that certainly makes them different or make them special. But Julian Void Jacobs, to me, it's very fitting that he's the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame on the day of Terry Funk's birthday. Because in many ways, Julian Void Jacobs and Terry Funk have a lot of similarities. Blue collar, nose to the ground, hardworking, come with your lunch pail, and get ready to work. And an example of this was Extreme King, where Julian Void Jacobs literally had his own move thrown at him. Blood, guts, everything else spilled at him. But he found a way to get the job done. In many ways, similar to when Terry Funk had won the ECW World Heavyweight Championship nearly 20 years after he'd won the NWA Championship. And while thankfully Julian Void Jacobs didn't have to wait 13 more years to win another world title, but in many ways the similarities of the Julian Void Jacobs World Championship win at Extreme King is kind of similar to that Terry Funk ECW Championship in the first pay-per-view that ECW ever held back in April 1997. Julian Void Jacobs, ladies and gentlemen, as one of our members of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, Hillbilly Tilly, the general manager of the Alliance Wrestling League, has always said it best. True wrestlers do it for the love of this sport and put their blood, sweat, and tears out there. There is no question throughout the trials and tribulations of Julian Void Jacobs' career and in the history of XCW, there is no doubt that Julian Void Jacobs has done all of those things. And in addition to that now, Julian Void Jacobs is a Grand Slam winner. Think about that. Julian Void Jacobs, in addition to our guest on Monday's show, Brogan O'Shea, Julian Void Jacobs joins Brogan O'Shea as a Grand Slam winner. I mean, boy, what a last, 96 hours for Julian Void Jacobs. The big question this year was Julian Void Jacobs having a tough year, losing to Mitchell Maverick and going through the fact that he couldn't make EBW. And he kind of went almost below the totem pole, some would say, at the bottom. But now, think about where he is, a world champion again for the first time in 7 years. The man that some would say is responsible for EBW and Shambles, a Grand Slam winner, and now the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. There is no doubt, ladies and gentlemen, that Julian Void Jacobs is an example of all wrestling matters here on this platform, which is obviously something that XCW is a part of, as members of the XCW roster are here time and time again, and they share their story, they share their journey, they share why it makes them so special, and that's why Julian Void Jacobs here, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, the last day in June, on June 30th, 2024, is the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. He's the second member of our 9th class. And, I could go on and on and on about Julian Void Jacobs. He might want me to go on and on and on about him, and I probably will tonight. But since I know we're behind schedule and he has a lot to get off his chest, because Julian Void Jacobs, after all, is making a rather triumphant return to Sportswire Radio, because unlike, let's say, when Justin Parsley keeps getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, or when Jackson Law has been inducted, or even Chris Jones when he talked about his targets, Julian Void Jacobs is coming here with gold. He's coming here where he made a statement, and I have no doubt that you might even want to say the road to SummerMania, which is now 53 days from now, could very well go through Julian Void Jacobs, which is why, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to induct Julian Void Jacobs as the 82nd member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, and also our second member of our 9th class. But before I do that, Julian Void Jacobs, I have to give you that Hall of Fame-like introduction that some of your colleagues in XCW who have joined you in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame have gotten, such as Fletch, is the mastermind of XCW. Justin Parsley has gotten this 3 times. We know we'll see him here more often. Rob Slater, the essential one. I don't know how essential he is these days in XCW. I'll leave that out for another time. Trinity Parker, once upon a time, who is here in XCW. Obviously, we'll leave that at that. Chris Jones, a man who you continue to one-up on, although he's EBW. Does he count as XCW or EBW? And obviously Jackson Law, the man that you scored one of your biggest victories off in several years. It's time for you, Julian Void Jacobs, to get that Hall of Fame-like introduction in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the only platform where it's all wrestling matters. It is time for you to get that introduction that those guys have gotten and some. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to officially induct into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame our 82nd member, second member of our 9th class, the reigning defending EBW champion of the world, Julian Void Jacobs. Let's get right to it. So we're done! Wait for it. Further ado here on the Sports Report. Number one, Global Sports Show, the reigning, defending EBW champion of the world, the 82nd member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, the second member of the 9th class. His name is, simply put, Julian Void Jacobs. The champ is here. Congratulations, my friend. You're the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame.
I really appreciate it, Tom. That was a hell of an entrance.
I actually felt, because I know I've done so many of these and I see a few Hall of Famers in the chat, I actually feel like this was one of my better ones because, we were talking off the air and obviously you were delayed due to some technical difficulties. No, it wasn't EBW trying to get one up on you after secretly recording them for the past several months. It was just a matter of technical difficulties. I actually thought in some ways this was one of my better ones because I thought about Terry Funk's birthday today and you being a 5-time hardcore champion, being a Grand Slam winner now officially, and 10 championships in your career. Really, what a week and what a turning of events for you. But before I get into that, I want to obviously put the matchup where you won the EBW title, where you'll obviously talk about what you did, what you said after the match. We'll talk about the road to SummerMania. But I want to ask the question that I always ask to start things off, especially now that we're in prime time, the brightest lights, the biggest stage, where all wrestling matters here on Sportswire Radio. For those that are listening and watching, Julian Void Jacobs, what does it mean to you to be the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame?
It's an honor. When I started XCW, I never thought I'd see myself as an XCW Hall of Famer. I would never thought that I'd have opportunities to be on a show like the Sportswire Radio Network, and I've just, all of this is just, it's humbling, but yet kind of an ego booster in a way too. Like, it goes hand in hand, I never thought, when I started in 2014, when I was picking up dog poop in the yard just so we had a place to land on the mattress, I never thought that we could grow the way we have and have the opportunities with, you, Tom, and, the radios. And I just cannot believe how much this has exploded. It literally takes explosive championship wrestling to a whole nother level of explosive.
Yeah, you guys have had quite a journey. I mean, I think from where you started, even before you, to where XCW is, obviously being in arenas, 24/7 like coverage, having really maybe the biggest roster of any company out there. I mean, you have guys that come in from all over the place. And I think in a lot of ways, it's really a great time to put you in the Hall of Fame because in a lot of ways, like you said, you've went through a lot. You've went through a lot really in the last year. And this is kind of, in a way, your moment right now in your last 4 days is kind of like what I've been saying in my 5.5 years in doing this. There's always an expression. It's a rising tide lifts all boats. And in a lot of ways for you, the last 4 days, I think for your career and where you're going into the road to SummerMania, it's kind of like you're riding this rising tide that's lifted your boat because think about to where you were months ago, even days ago. Yeah. So now all of a sudden, you're the guy that could potentially unify the world titles. You're the guy now that's a Grand Slam winner. You're the guy now that maybe some would say has single-handedly put EBW in shambles. And on top of that, Many could even say that the road to SummerMania goes through Julian Void Jacobs because you have one of those championships. I mean, if we're going to really if we're going to have that conversation, you started it about unifying those titles. I mean, you're here. And I think that this is the adrenaline boost that you've needed. This is the shot in the arm that you've needed because you went from an EBW reject, as some would unfairly call you, to now the guy that very well the road to SummerMania could go through Julian Void Jacobs. It's really one of the greatest, I guess, maybe it's one of the greatest comeback stories this year in 2024 in Backyard and Underground Wrestling. If you think about it, this very well could be one of the greatest comeback stories.
Yeah. And, you know, like I've talked about before, the last time I've been on the top of the mountain in XW was 2017, and that was when I cashed in the Money in the Bank on Chris Jones. And I'm not going to say I've been on a downward spiral, but it's been really plateauic. And
it's been tough. No, listen, it's been tough. You tried to get the tag titles. You were seen as a joke. I mean, you were going through all these different tests. You had Mitchell Maverick turn on you. I mean, you were aligned with him. You didn't see that coming. You went through that. I mean, it was tough. You really went through some dark days. I mean, were there times here in the last few months that you said, you know what? Is it ever going to get any better? I mean, not to say it was hopeless, but what was the last few months like before this amazing comeback you've made?
Well, I mean, when me and Mitch, when we were tagged, I mean, I thought we had a good thing going with that. And then EBW started, really picking up steam, and we were trying to get into there. They gave him the EBW shirt because I guess the past, and they wanted the original crew and whatnot. And
yeah, he was here. I had Mitchell on here, I think about 2 months ago, just about right after he had turned on you and was in EBW, and he hadn't lost a match at that time in the calendar year. I mean, it was a big deal to have him here.
Yeah, he was on a roll, and then when he turned on me, his performances have gotten better, and my performances have gotten better. It's just, I guess we weren't the team we were supposed to be. So he's on to, I'm not going to say bigger and better because, we've saw how that went, but,
Oh, not now. No. I mean, no. You're the one that's the last man standing, it seems. The irony of it, champ, is that, you were trying to, I guess, get into EBW, but yet you're the one with the EBW world title. I guess in some ways, Chris Jones and Luke Blaze and the rest of the guys, maybe they would rather have had Jackson Laura as champion because after what you've done to them, I mean, this is just such a fascinating turn of events.
Yeah. And, it's funny. What comes around goes around. And, Mitchell wanted to turn his back on me to go join EBW. You want to be the best of the best and come get me, So I put that target on my back when I won the EBW title against Jackson Law, and I went and I said my piece, and I said I've got a target on my back. If you want it, come get it. So it's up to them on if they have the cojones to pull it off or not.
Let me ask you a question. I know we were here months ago and we talked about getting back on top, but you went through a lot this season. I'll get to comments shortly. I know a lot of people want to say hello to you, but did you ever feel like that you didn't know if you'd ever get back and become a world champion again? Was there ever that any level of doubt?
Oh, of course there was doubt. I've had 7 years of doubt. I've had, I've had the New Age title. I had the international. I've had
the tag titles. You had the hardcore title.
The extreme title. I've had all these titles, but they were all mid-card titles. Of course there's doubt on, will I ever be able to, get back to the top of the mountain? Of course there's doubt, but I know my worth ethic in the ring and outside the ring is strong enough, and my performances are good enough. My performance myself is up to par. I believe I deserve to be in the top of the mountain, and here I am again. So, and if anybody wants to try to knock it down, the fight's open. I'm not turning my back on anybody.
Let me ask you a follow-up to that. Do you feel vindicated now?
I definitely feel my career is going in a much more positive direction than it was even 2 months ago.
Oh, I think in 4 days. I mean, think about where you went.
Well, yeah, that's all. Like I was getting there, but like, just 2 months ago, Matt Mitchell turned his back on me. I didn't know where I was gonna go, and then I was like, you know what? The hell with this. Somebody's got to take these guys down. Somebody's got to save XCW. I've been an XCW through and through since day one, and I'm going to keep my company where it's at. If I have to do that single-handedly, then I'm going to do that. XCW is home. XCW is mine. It's ours. It's EBW does not belong here.
You see this a lot in sports. We're obviously in the thick of baseball season, and there's stories of teams that came all the way back and wound up going into the postseason. The 1951 New York Giants at the time. It was the 1964 St. Louis Cardinals. I'm in New York, the 1973 New York Mets. You got to believe the Seattle Mariners, 1995, refused to lose. They were worried about losing their team, and they come all the way back and make the playoffs. In many ways, Julian Voigt Jacobs, as crazy as this sounds, I put you up there with some of those teams in baseball or some of those teams in the other sports that were down and out, and everybody said, stick a fork in them. They'll be losers. They're going to be in last place and near the bottom. You were near the bottom in XCW. You were near the bottom of XCW just a few weeks ago. And now you're the guy that's on top and has come all the way back.
Mm-hmm.
And do you kind of feel that the same thing that I kind of feel about you is that a lot of people counted you out. A lot of people said Julian Voigt Jacobs, he was a fake world champion. He cashed in on Chris Jones, and he couldn't really win the big one. He's a bust. He's a disappointment in XCW. But now you've had really one of the greatest comeback stories, again, similar to those stories in sports where teams came all the way back in a matter of days and weeks. The 78 Yankees, 14 games back. 73 Mets, last place with 30 days left in the baseball season. 1951 New York Giants, 13 games back with 6 weeks to play. 1964 St. Louis Cardinals, 13 games back, 7 weeks to play. Seattle Mariners, 13 and a half games back, 42 games left to play. 2007 Philadelphia Phillies. I can keep going, but that's where Julian Voigt Jacobs was. You were basically those teams that had no mathematical chance of really doing anything, and they won. And just like you feel the same way?
Yeah. Well, yeah, to a point, because I've always felt like my talent is up there with Brady and Brogan and Tommy. Like I feel like my talent is there. I feel like my promo work is on par. Like I feel like I should be up there with those guys, but I was stuck in the mid card, working with Mitchell, working with guys like, no disrespect because he's gotten so much better, but Patrick O'Reilly. Like, I mean, it's just I've been mid card for the last 7 years. It was just time for me to do something drastic to get back up to the top, and then here we are with EBW. I'm doing what I got to do for myself. I'm doing what I got to do for my company.
And you certainly did that and some. And before I get to some comments, and we'll be joined in progress here in a few minutes from a couple of our friends on YouTube, it's time for me to present to you something because we've spoke a lot. We're going to continue this comeback journey shortly, but I officially would like to give you something here, Julian Voigt Jacobs, because after all, we want to honor you. And it's really, again, one of the greatest comeback stories, I think, this year in the backyard in the underground wrestling circuit. And it's time for me to officially give you that proclamation. You are the 82nd member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. Congratulations, champ. You got my signature. You got today's date. You got the logo. I will send this to you when we're off the air. And congratulations. And you join, obviously, a list of some great people, not just in the backyard and the underground, but we have people that have played in the college basketball Final Four. We have people that are soccer coaches right now for the United States of America. We have journalists in here. We have some people that are some really fine individuals. We have professional wrestlers. Some of them wrestled in. One guy, as a matter of fact, my first member of the Hall of Fame, is actually a WWE Clash at the Castle. He helped AJ Styles after what happened to him, and you join all those great people, and officially congratulations, my friend.
I really appreciate it, Tom. Thank you so much. It's an honor.
You definitely deserve it, and I think I want to get to some comments before I join some of our friends in progress here, so let's go back to it. Zilla's become kind of like our resident, I guess, just bot expert. He just says hello to everybody and just repeats. So, hello, Zilla. Nice to see you. Want to say hello to Andrew Lovelace, of course, the DJ Dirty White Boy. He is our resident DJ on Sportswire Radio. He is a pro wrestler out there for a number of different places. Amplified Wrestling, Enterprise. He was out there yesterday. Also, I think is doing another show upcoming as well, in addition to Summer Bash. He says hello, gentlemen, also in the Hall of Fame. The man that you took the title from, Jackson Law, another fellow Hall of Famer. He is number 10 in our Hall of Fame. I'm mad I lost the EBW title, but I'm not mad who I lost to. I'm going to show that match in a few minutes. So I'm going to certainly put that on the screen because that was a very intense match, what you went through. Very intense. Kind of like a Terry Funk when he won his championship back in 97 for the second time as a world champion. He congratulates you. Michael Christian, who obviously made his own entrance into Extreme King. He was in there for a few minutes. What's up to my biggest fan? Love you, Void. We both had some big moments at Extreme King, but I think you had some bigger moments. I think your moments were just a little bigger, don't you think?
Just a little bit.
It's always good to obviously see Michael up. In 2019, I met Void. We got to talking wrestling. Outside of wrestling, we got one big thing in common. We love snacking. We still need Julian Void Jacobs spit cups. Can you tell me about spit cups and snacking? Because there are people out there that are like, huh?
So back in 2021, I believe. Well, really, 2017, it all kind of started. I wasn't necessarily a comedic gimmick, but like I had a little bit more creativeness with my promos and stuff. So, I always ate during promos, so snacking is a big thing for me. And when he's referring to a spit cup as I dip, so I always have.
Oh, I kind of had an idea because I know baseball. Yeah. A lot of baseball guys would dip, so I kind of, had the idea that was the case. I mean, so what was some of your favorite snacking then? Since you're a snacker, I'm actually not a snacker, believe it or not. But
if I didn't have Skittles of some sort, I'd always have some right now.
Okay.
Like if it wasn't Skittles, it was some sort of bag of chips, Cheez-Its. I had some.
Chips I could see. If I were to be a snacker, chips would be definitely good. Skittles takes me back to when I was like in like the 5th or 6th grade. I remember growing up when I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and a lot of times my walk to my junior high school at the time, I would sometimes either on my way to school or on my way home, I would obviously sometimes buy a snack, and if I was lucky, I would buy a candy, which sometimes would be a Skittles. So I could appreciate when I was a kid the Skittles, but the chips would be a good snack. And dipping, obviously, maybe does some of those things help you also in kind of, I don't know if it's calming down the nerves, maybe tackling the adrenaline, because you probably get so much adrenaline going out there.
I do. Every match, it doesn't matter if I go to the bathroom before a match or not. Every time my entrance music hits and I'm walking to the ring, I always have to pee. Every show. It does not matter. I could go to the bathroom 2 minutes before my music hits. I still got to go again.
Really?
On everything. It's been like that for the last, 4 or 5 years now, ever since everything kind of picked up. And now that, I'm taking everything more serious, it's just that adrenaline. And there's a lot of times where the next day, we'll shoot Saturday, we'll shoot the show on Saturday. There's a lot of times where Sunday, my adrenaline's so wore out and so wore off that
I know Saturdays are a long day for you guys because it's from morning to evening. I mean, it's just, not an easy day. I mean, I was speaking with a couple of the guys who you wrestle with, and, I think they didn't get home until yesterday, like 11 o'clock or something like that. I was speaking with.
It's, you put up, you do the show, you record all day, you do promos, and then you take down, and sometimes there's some traveling involved, so there's a bunch to it, but everybody's pretty good, and it's a team effort, and
teamwork makes the dream. That's what it does. It keeps the dream alive. And obviously, speaking of snacking, I always think of, for whatever reason, there was a baseball player, Wade Boggs, who wound up hitting 3,000 times when he came up to bat. And his favorite routine was before he would go out and play, he would have chicken. For whatever reason, before every game, he would go out and have chicken. So there are people that, and you know what? It worked for him. He hit almost 330 in his career. So, obviously it worked for him. And, if you're snacking, having Skittles or having
I
chips,
can't hear him. I can't hear him at all.
Can you hear me now, Champ? Champ.
I can't hear him. My audio is going.
Well, I think that the EBW champion is having some technical difficulties.
Tom, my audio is gone. I can't hear you, Tom.
Well, we hope that the champion gets back out there with us. We hope that the champion will come back and maybe
I don't know what happened.
Try to come back in, Champ. Maybe try to come back in and come back out, and we'll bring you back into the chat.
I can't hear him.
So try to do that. Try to come back in. Try to come back out. That would be my advice. We're here with EBW champion of the world, Julian Void Jacobs, the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, was going through technical difficulties. We hope to have Julian Void Jacobs here very shortly. Yes, Champ. Champ is struggling right now. If you can, please come in, leave the chat and come back in. It might be a settings issue. It does happen from time to time. So try to come back in and try to come back out. So
Tom, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Champ.
I don't have any audio.
You need to be able to
into the stream.
Yeah, you need to log out and log in. So we hope that the champion joins us. It is not EBW that is certainly corrupted his Wi-Fi and issues. Let me get to some comments while I'm here. Also, let's just hope it doesn't backfire on him. Well, his Wi-Fi just backfired on him, so hopefully his Wi-Fi gets better. Hello to Hillbilly Tilly, who I quoted, obviously the general manager of the Alliance Wrestling League. The guys had a great show. And speaking of those who were there at that show, D'Angelo LaFlame, who didn't get back out home to where he lives till 2:00 in the morning. I mean, how long was your drive back from Alabama? That's what I'd love to know while Julian Void Jacobs tries to re-enter the chat. My first XCW show with my kids, my wife made pulled pork sandwiches. We kind of decided to make it a thing ever since. It's funny. I've never had pulled pork, so I don't even know what it is. The only reason I had some interest in pulled pork just before was I actually just saw a thing on Instagram where a guy was actually how he was cooking pulled pork sandwiches. But hopefully, Julian Void Jacobs can pull back his Wi-Fi in here. And did he, DG Cole? I don't know if I shut his Wi-Fi off. I just think that he unfortunately had some technical difficulties. But good to see you, my dear friend, Mr. DG Colton. I know that we actually had these technical difficulties with the champ about 20 minutes before we went on the air. So hopefully he can restore his connection, and hopefully he comes back with us. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively, literally, awesome. By the way, if you have a chance, I'm officially now on TikTok. So if you haven't yet subscribed to Sportswire Radio on TikTok, I am on TikTok now. So hopefully you come on TikTok and join us for the ride. Champ, are you back with us?
Yeah, so I got a call that came in and it shut my audio off.
I see. Well, I'm so happy you're back with us because I was thankfully able to keep you going and alive. I'm good to see you, and thank God that EBW and Chris Jones and Luke Blaze didn't decide to cut your audio settings off, and Jackson Law didn't do that. But the good news is, obviously, we're back here with you, and obviously, we're going to I think now is a good time to actually show the match where you won that EBW championship. So for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio, we're going to put the match up here shortly. I actually have it right here in front of me. So bear with me 1 second while we actually come back in here, and I'm going to show the match, and I'm going to get to where we were. So hang on here. I think I have it right about no, I don't think it's at that moment. Is it this moment? I think I have it. I just have to pull the right time. I had the timestamp here. There we go. Excellent. Okay, so we're going to put the match up here now. So I actually have it. So hang on tight. Oops, stop sharing. Oh, escape. Let's see now. I think okay, now you should have me. I'm going to put the match up here right now. So we're going to come back. Bear with me. I'm going to put the match up right now. We have it here on the screen. Going to put it up. I'm going to take the volume off so we can go along with the match. All right, champ. So we're here. We're in that moment. It's the EBW championship on the line. Jackson Law is the champion. You're coming out here and tell us how you're feeling right now coming into the match.
Right now, I'm looking forward to it because I know, I know me and Jackson have some pretty good chemistry in the ring. I knew it was going to be a hell of a show. I knew that it was already a hell of a show from the beginning, like from the start.
I mean, you had a new world
And,
champion at the
and
start of the show. How about that? I mean, Eric Mason. My goodness.
we had Eric Mason get his first world title, and then it's just kind of fitting. I joke around and I call Eric Mason my son. Me and his
But you're
mom.
not that old, though. You're not that old, champ.
Me and his mom have an ongoing joke about how I owe her 24 years of child support. So it's kind of fitting for the father and
I
son.
think Dave Cerebral would be the guy that would be more of the father of Eric Mason. I don't think you're quite there yet, Nate. And we love James Cerebral, but that's the joke.
But no, it was an exciting because it's my first world title match in a while, and we've had some triple threat stuff, and this was my first time having a one-on-one chance, and I knew Jackson. He said some stuff in the pre-show that hit me sideways, and I already had that to vindicate and give some receipts for. So,
did you think about a lot of the time where you last got a world title shot? Did that maybe motivate you coming into this?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I don't want to fumble the bag, and I don't want to seem like a weak champion. I want to be that fighting champion for my company. I want to, I don't want to be known as the guy who lost to Brendan Stickwood at 3 of 5. I want to be known as a good XCW champion, whether holding an EBW world title or the XCW world title. Hell, maybe if I can even uniform and
Well, we're going to talk about the unification. We're going to absolutely talk about that after the match. But I guess then you put a lot more pressure than maybe some would have thought because you haven't had this title shot in a while. And when you did win the XCW title, you cashed in your Money in the Bank in a way kind of similar to Jackson. Jackson obviously is the Money in the Bank, and he cashes in on the EBW championship. And obviously there's some similarities there from that aspect of it. But did you put maybe more pressure on you than maybe most would have thought, just because of, again, you think back to your last title shot, but also your only time you were a world champion when you won it with a cash in?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because now this is my actual time to win it without having to use the Money in the Bank. I actually earned it. I mean, not that I didn't actually earn my Money in the Bank opportunity anyway, because I had to win the ladder match, but I didn't have a contract saying, "Oh, you're guaranteed a title match" or "You're guaranteed a shot at it." I had to work my way up, and I wanted to prove to everybody that I was capable of doing this.
What kind of an opponent is Jackson Law for you?
Oh, are you talking like stiff, or like are you talking?
No, just as a competitor here going into a match like this, how do you prepare for an opponent like Jackson Law?
Oh, you got to put everything in one basket. You got to scout. You got to watch his matches and see where his weaknesses are. You got to be able to exploit what you can. You can't turn your back on Jackson Law. Obviously, I figured that out 3 times already. So, and I just, that was fun to take. I'll tell you that. That was great, having Jackson Law's ass make an imprint on my son and my face.
I'm sure that was something you still haven't forgotten.
No, I think I still have a crease in my cheek somewhere from that.
I'm sure that's exactly what the audience wanted to know tonight. But, obviously you knew, though, that Jackson is certainly going to fight tooth and nail to keep this championship.
Oh, absolutely. He is one hell of an opponent. He's got a lot of talent. He's a lot stronger than people give him credit for. Like, he may not, people might make fun of him for looking pudgy or whatever, but he's really strong.
And how about here right now? I mean, he's got you up, and
yes,
you're about to go down, and a lot of people thought the match was going to be over right away. He got off to a strong start here. Were you surprised at his strong start?
Yeah, he came out like a ball of fire, and I was not prepared or ready for that. I've seen, like I said, I do a lot of scouting. So a lot of his previous matches before
and you're a veteran too to begin with. I think that's why a lot of people were surprised at such a strong start, because you've obviously seen a lot of these things, and you kind of talked about also just that pressure you put on in terms of going for a world title shot again. And again, he gets off to the unusual strong start. Kind of, I think, a little bit different in his run as the EBW champion. A lot of his matches have been kind of finding ways to win and, just doing enough. But in this particular case, he gets off to an unusually strong start.
Yeah, he came out a lot quicker than I expected him to. And it was really surprising for me because it really caught me off guard. And I was like, okay, well, I got to catch my bearings. And by the time I could even catch my bearings, I was already busted open from his elbow. So I was like, okay. So here I am.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as we're watching the match here between Jackson Law with the new EBW champion, Julian Void Jacobs, the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. We're here on Sportswire Radio. And if you want to follow XCW, there's a whole bunch of links here below. Please join them and support them. We are on the road to SummerMania. He bust you open in this particular moment we just saw. How does that impact you in terms of this match and what you were intending to do? Talk about that.
So when it happened, of course, obviously blood runs. So it ran, and where I was busted open, it was right here on my eyebrow. So when it ran down, it got into my eye, and I was seeing white blotches. Like I couldn't even see straight. So I had to kind of gauge, and I lost a lot of what am I trying to say here? It caught me off guard to the point where I lost a lot of focus in the match. I had to regain it because it was not planned to be opened up. It was not one of those things. It was just one of those accidental, it was just one of those heat of the moment things, and it caught me off guard.
But that's also your eye. That's where your obviously vision is. It would be one thing if you got, busted open, let's say maybe you're cutting the lip, the nose, but it's the eye. And that's where, you have to be able to see your opponent. So that's definitely something that impacts you more significantly than anybody else.
Yeah. I couldn't see out of my right eye for a good last half of that match. After I got busted open, I couldn't see out of my right eye. So everything I was doing with the left eye coordinated, and I'm right side dominant. So that was very rough.
How did that concern you in the match here? And we still have some time here in this match. I mean, this has got to feel, champ, like an eternity these past, few minutes, and you still have at least another 4 or 5 minutes in the match, right? So how did you feel in this?
It was not easy. It was I had a lot of pain and a lot of swelling. My eye was starting to my eyelid anyway was starting to close up. I couldn't see right. I couldn't react the way I wanted to in a lot of these spots.
How about there, right there? Look, another spot there where, almost like it was he maybe in the champion at the time going for, okay, let me see if I can damage you a little more and try to finish you off there. I mean, talk about that.
Yeah, he was, once he's like a shark, man. Once he smells the blood from, whatever.
Blood in the water, yep.
Yeah, he smells blood in the water. Normally it's game over, but me, I'm a resilient guy. I try to fight everything I can with as much as I got, and I gave Jackson Law everything I had left in me after I lost my sight in my eye from that moment on.
Was there any point here that you said, "Oh man, this is my moment. This is kind of this is my luck. I'm trying to win a world title, and now I'm dealing with this." Was there ever that moment you said "Oh, oh shoot, this is where I'm supposed to. This is my moment," and now it's I don't know if I can do this. Was there ever a thought here in these minutes?
Yeah, actually, when he had me in that clutch right there, I knew he had a bum knee, so I elbowed his bad knee, and that was not him overselling. That was not him selling to the camera. I actually hit his bad knee.
Well, you're about to do a 5-knuckle shuffle here, 5-knuckle shuffle to certainly help yourself.
Oh yeah, that's when I had the elbow to his knee is what really opened up the gates for me to have that opportunity. And as you see me hit him with the AA there,
yep,
right there, I knew that it was gonna be game over.
So you knew at that moment you had him when you did the 5-knuckle shuffle and then you did the AAA. It was okay, this is it. This is the moment. And then, you look at how you react here. You look up and then you hold that title. Walk me through this moment right before we go and have you on the microphone. But walk me through that moment. And you dropped the title there. How fitting, but
I dropped the title because I was so worn out, so gassed, and just so I lost a lot of blood in that moment. So I was a little uncoordinated with that. But the reaction of holding that title for the first time, it's been 7 long years since I've held a title.
You probably forgot what it was like to hold the world title. That's probably why you dropped it, right?
Yeah. I forgot how heavy it was. It's not.
I could imagine. But I actually, before I put the volume up, because obviously you're going to talk and it's going to be a big deal why you want to talk, I want to say hello to our friend Remy Ravage. Remy obviously is a big part of things in XCW. She's got her own thing going on with ACT, and also she's going to be wrestling this guy Sean Jovi at Summer Bash. So we'll say hello to Remy, and thank you so much, Remy, for tuning in all the great things that you do for us in XCW. So let's take Remy off the screen temporarily so we can pull the volume up and you can tell us about what's about to happen right afterwards. So here we go for the audience.
Boyd wants a mic. I'm going to address the crowd here. All right. I mean, we'll let the man speak, I suppose. Okay. He's earned it.
So, guys, might be wondering who has been behind the hidden cameras in the locker room for EBW.
Oh, I certainly would like to know.
You're looking at him.
Oh my God!
It's me.
Wait a minute.
And now that I have your EBW title, I have a target, right? I got a target?
Damn right you do.
I'll tell you what, anybody from EBW wants to take a target, I'm right here.
Oh,
I'm right here.
He's fighting him to take a shot.
Huge revelation there for Julian Boyd Jenkins from behind the hidden cameras. He's behind all the hidden cameras.
I guess he did go to Southern Hampshire Institute of Technology.
Of course.
It was right there the whole time. Damn it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the trunk match is next.
All right, we're going to take this off the screen. We'll come back to that. So, boy, that was a bombshell. I mean, you want to talk about Hiroshima's. I mean, you win the EBW title, and then you reveal you were the guy that placed that hidden camera out there to record EBW for week after week. And why then did you decide to tell the world that? Why then?
What's a better time when you win the EBW title, right? So,
Could be.
So, my thought about it is, let Mitchell Maverick have his little time in the sun. Let him have his undefeated month or whatever it was, 2 months or whatever it was, and he can turn his back on me. But guess what? I hold the EBW title. You want it? Find me. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere.
So, you in a lot of ways, but let's talk about why you put the hidden camera out there for weeks to record EBW.
So,
why was that?
The reason why is because, like I said, I've always been an XCW guy through and through, right? I've never
when the thoughts of you joining EBW?
Even with the thought, like, okay, so once Mitchell had turned his back on me, I had every right in my power to screw over the whole system of EBW. I'm not going to blame Mitchell for the whole thing, but it was a crucial part of why I did what I did. It was...
You were blindsided by what Mitchell did, right?
I was blindsided by it. And of course, if you're going to get blindsided, what are you going to do? You're going to retaliate, right? What's the best way to retaliate? You're going to take the whole thing down by the floor to the top. So I went bottom first. I went, Mitchell might have got his day in the sun over me, but I'm holding the whole entire sun over him, right? So.
Were you ever worried about, could this backfire? Could you get caught? Because EBW is still, they outnumber you. And, when you started recording them, that was when EBW was still, running roughshod a few months ago. We think about it. Mitchell joins the group and they've got the tag titles. Brady and James beat the real ones to win the titles. Miano's got the world title. And
Oh, yeah,
It
of course.
seems like, and remember, we had the elimination match where every single person of XCW was eliminated. Remember that? I mean, so
Yeah.
right now, EBW, when you start recording them,
Yeah.
I mean, they're untouchable. Untouchable.
Yeah, we, like you said, at XCW, we lost the Allegiance match. EBW was on the top. And of course, you worry about, am I going to get caught red-handed doing this? But if you're sneaky enough and you have a degree in other things other than psychology, right? You can
Well, we know that
you
from
can be a
last
little more sneaky.
history, yes.
So, I may have a psychology degree, from, Southern Hampshire Institute of Technology, but there's some other things I might have went to school for that people don't know about, right? Like computers and programming and hacking and, other stuff. So with that being said, why not take a shot and see what happens with a hidden camera somewhere in the locker room for certain
No,
people?
you definitely did that. There's no question
Sure.
about that.
What I'm saying, why not? Why not take that shot?
Well, I mean, obviously, it looks like, you were a genius. You pulled something off, and EBW, little by little now, I mean, they're in shambles. I mean, you've got the title. I mean, they were better off with Jackson, and they had a target on him. And I mean, you basically, what you did to them. I mean, it's going to be certainly fascinating to see how they try to respond in this road to SummerMania. But I mean, it seems to me like EBW right now is almost the equivalent of, like, I don't know, the NWO in 2002. They're about to, it seems like, implode, and they're imploding this time within.
Yeah, and it's honestly a beautiful sight to see if you're a true-blooded XCW fan and you're like, what? Why is EBW even here if they're not? They don't even hold their own title. So, well, I mean,
I guess you could have argued, though, that for a time they still had the world and the tag title.
Yeah, at one point they did,
They had
but
the hardcore title as well, right? They had the hardcore world and the tag.
yeah, I believe they did. Yeah, but over the course of time, the outliers of Brogan and Fletch, they took those away.
Against Extreme King, correct?
Yep.
Miano's obviously Miano's lost the EBW and the world title. How about Diaz over the
Miano Diaz is going through it right now, but rightfully so, because once you're at the top, like they always say, it's always a long way back down. And trust me,
and he's going.
Tommy
Merriman. I have to imagine that that's going to continue to go into the road to SummerMania, and then you got this guy Brady Branson. I have to get your thoughts on him before I certainly come back to Chris Jones, because James Cerebral is always going to be EBW. EBW could make up, and James Cerebral is still going to wear the EBW shirt. Yeah. I say it all the time on Sportswire. James Cerebral is going to his grave with an EBW shirt. His blood is EBW. So I got the James Cerebral story, but Brady Branson right now is pointing a lot of fingers there. And, I know you're watching it from afar, and what do you make of all that? Because that's another guy, Brady Branson, that to me, I think might be the biggest example of the downfall there. He held the world title when the group reformed. He was as dominant as anybody has ever seen. Mm-hmm. He loses the world title at ACT. Couldn't get it back. Okay, gets the tag titles, but it loses them. And now it seems like he and Chris Jones, he's been pointing fingers at Chris Jones for weeks now, and I got to ask you, what's your thoughts on Brady Branson right now?
Brady Branson, he's always a tough competitor. He's always, but I don't really know how to answer that question, Tom, because only Brady knows what Brady's doing. If he really believes that Chris Jones is
but did he see the same things you did?
Oh, everybody saw the same thing I did.
James Cerebral didn't. Miano Diaz didn't.
No, but I think Brady's starting to brighten up a little bit and realize that EBW is not the faction that they once were back in the day. Back in the day, they were dominant. Yes, they had their dominant moments. This go around.
Yeah, to me, NWO 2002 right now. I mean, they're basically
right now, they're a shell of what they once were. And then, looking at EBW's run this portion versus the last time EBW was relevant back in, I think it was like 2013, 2014.
I was about to say the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was somewhere back around there. they were dominant everywhere. They held, I believe, every title at one point. They held the world, they held the tag, they held the
international, I think, as well.
They held all of them, I do believe, at one point. And we had to, as XCW, like, we had to figure out how to take EBW down.
You needed Corey Lee, if I recall correctly.
It was Corey Lee and Emily Moore that restarted that match back then to have Corey Lee and
but EBW also, I mean, letting Tommy Merriman in the group. I mean, that anybody could have saw that one coming, right? I had Tommy here. Yeah, I mean, I had Tommy here, but Tommy Merriman, he's out for himself. Tommy Merriman ain't a group guy. No, Tommy Merriman only cares for Tommy Merriman. I mean, that's got to also be bad judgment on the man that you technically eliminated out there at Extreme King, Chris Jones. I mean, a man that you also won the world title from that other time you were a champion. I mean, Chris Jones is, again, one of the greatest that has ever stepped foot in the backyard in the underground wrestling circuit. He's in the Hall of Fame, but I mean, the judgment there for a long-time nemesis of his to allow him into the group and not think that he would turn on that group. All right, what do you think? What do you think of that?
That's a bold move. I don't know if I would have asked one of my biggest enemies that's taken everything from me and had the story that they have together, or versus each other, I should say, not together, but I wouldn't have asked somebody like that to join my faction. Not at all. I would have seen that turn coming a mile away.
So why do you think that Chris Jones allowed Tommy the Man Merriman into EBW? I mean,
because you're always going to do what you think is best for business. And Tommy's
even if it's an arch enemy like Tommy Merriman, who's known to be out for himself, and he used EBW to get the quickest way possible back to the world title. That's what he did, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. And, for Tommy, of course he's going to make that move because it's going to put him back on the top. So why not get back to the top, then do your turn like he did, and make Chris stand there looking stupid? Like, I would have done the same thing. I would have done whatever I had to do to get back on top. And then I would have made the decision either from what was best for my career or what was best in that moment. And Tommy did what was best for him, and rightfully so.
I mean, I have to wonder, though. I mean, you obviously shed light on this, and Mitchell joins. And did you ever try to tell Mitchell Maverick that this is what could happen? Did you ever, when you guys were tag partners, did you ever tell him about this? I mean, he had his side of the story when he was here 2 months ago as to why he joined the group. But you're the veteran. You've been here before. I mean, you've kind of been Team XCW, as you stated. Did you ever try to warn Mitchell?
No. Mitchell. Because Mitchell's going to make Mitchell's decisions. I'm not out here trying to tell people how to live their life, how to make their career, what it is. Only thing I tried to ever do for Mitchell was be the best tag partner I could for him and to get his career in an upright position, because he was coming back from being gone for so long. I was trying to help knock some of that ring rust off, trying to get him back to where I thought Mitchell can be. No, I did not think he was going to turn his back on me like he did. But since he did, that gave me every right to do what I did.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, again, EBW, you did talk about that you've got a target, but EBW is the weakest it's ever been. Are you worried about this target right now? I mean, we saw what happened at Extreme King. I'm gonna put the Extreme King itself up. I'm gonna show it in a second, but I mean, it just seems like there's no unity in EBW right now. You concerned about being this target on your back?
I'm gonna no, because the reason I'm not concerned about that is, number one, like you said, there's no unity, right? They're all out to point the fingers and to put blame on everybody else, but whoever's actually responsible for the downfall of what they're doing. So no, because if I keep my head straight and doing what I'm doing now and holding this target firmly on my back and keeping my eyes peeled and watching my back and everything, I know I've beat Brady before. I've beat Chris Jones obviously before. I've beaten James Cerebral. It may not have been in an actual XW show on like an actual like big show, but I've done it in like ground zeros and vortexes and stuff like that. So I have the wins over all of those guys in EBW right now. And of course, with Mitchell being there, I was his tag partner, so I already know his tendencies. I'm not worried about it.
Let me ask you then this question in terms of what does it mean to you to be the EBW world champion right now? What does that mean to you?
It means a lot to me because I'm back in the main event portion of the card. I went from being first, second, third on the card to now I'm
Pretty
down,
much.
I'm back up into the 6 and 7, 8s. You know, either semi.
You're in the upper mid card to semi.
Yeah, I'm
main
up
event.
in the
Yep.
up in the semi to main event. So for that much, it means a lot to me for that reason. But I'm also trying to give the EBW title some backbone too. So that way, you know, if the title does, if I can end up becoming XCW champion, the EBW and the XCW mean just as much to where they can unify, and it can become an undisputed championship.
You talked about the unification, and you talked about that. I mean, the road to SummerMania also goes through Julian Void Jacobs, technically, because you hold that title. Obviously, we're going to find out starting this week what is the future for that EBW championship and who comes forward with that. But what do you then make of that unification process? What do you, as you're about to come out here in the Extreme King, I mean, what do you have a stake in? Does it matter to you in terms of who would, let's say, hold the XCW world title? I mean, obviously, we know it's Hunter Halkin, who, again, what an amazing performance. I mean, you and him obviously were the guys that above and beyond did the most in Extreme King. I think Brogan O'Shea well as well, but I think what you and Hunter Halkin did is, certainly, quite a performance from the both of you guys. But what do you make of that? Eric Mason wins his world title for the first time in his career to open up the show. Hunter Halkin wins the Extreme King. We saw what Corey Lee put him through. They've obviously have such a personal feud. You thought your friendship with Mitchell Maverick was certainly sidetracked. I mean, think about what happened with Halkin and Mason. You're going to stay on top as EBW champ. If we were going to go through this unification process, do you have a preference on who would walk away at SummerMania between Halkin and Mason?
Oh boy. Honestly, I'd like it to be Eric Mason. I don't know if that's the case, but I would love it to be Eric Mason because me and him had a match. He's one of the guys that's easy to work with, and I would just love to rub it in Corey's. I took out his disciple. Now I am the current savior of XCW.
But Halkin, wouldn't he be an easier opponent?
What's that?
Wouldn't Hunter Halkin be an easier opponent based on the size advantage you would have?
For size, yeah, but for speed, no. Because he could run circles around me. I mean, he's a skinny kid and he's very athletic. So
aware of that. Okay.
It's just one of those things where brute versus speed versus brute. A lot of times, speed comes out.
Talk about the support of the fans and how they got really behind you in the last few weeks. The fans really in the Galaxy got behind you, where I kind of compared you to those comeback teams. I think about the Seattle Mariners in 1995. It was Refuse to Lose, and the fans rallied behind them. The fans rallied behind you these last few weeks. The Mets in baseball was You Gotta Believe, and the fans rallied behind them. And we see you dump Evan Phoenix, and you're about to get a couple of eliminations. But talk about how the fans in the Galaxy played a role in you coming back as a world champion and completing one of the greatest comebacks in the backyard and the underground.
Well, of course, the fans are everything. Without the fans, there is no XCW. There's no show to put on.
Your fans were really behind you in this.
Oh yeah, my fans were. That's what I was getting to. Like, my fans were great. Like, I've had so much support from everybody, and even people in the locker room. It's just, hey, we need this from you, and I'm like, I'm not going to let anybody, I'm going to do my damnedest to not let anybody down, whether it's, the people that support me in the locker room or the people that support me out in the crowd. Like, they've been behind me since day one, and I've got to give them what they expect.
What does it mean to you now to be a Grand Slam winner?
Well, I had an interview with Fletch back 4 or 5 months ago for a free time interview on XW.
I saw it. I did see it. I saw it.
And with that, it's one of those things like, what haven't I done that I could do all over again?
He dubbed Chris Jones.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Chris Jones. I know he's going to be back on Sportswire. He's actually messaged me in the last few weeks, and he said he'll be back. But boy, that's one he's going to have to live down that one. But go ahead, continue.
What was I saying, Tom?
We were talking about in terms of being a Grand Slam winner.
Oh yeah, in terms of Grand Slam
time interview with Fletch.
One of those. It's just one of those things. Like, what else? Like, what have I had? What have I? The only thing I have not won in XW is I have not won Extreme King. So that is the one. I'm not a. Technically, I've held every belt, so I am a Grand Slammer. But I have not won every match stiff, whether it's been Extreme King or Elimination Chamber. I've never won either one of those matches. So I want to get to a point to where I can focus on, I've won every title. I've held every title. It means a lot. But I also want to try to get some other matches won that I haven't won yet.
But obviously right now, unifying the world title is a big deal right now.
Absolutely it is. That is a main goal. That is a main goal. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think that's a question because, again, Summer Mania, we don't know who you're facing, but we know it's locked in, Halkin and Mason. So you have to continue to do your part.
Yep.
To make sure that you're not a fluke. And you have to figure out what happens with Halkin and Mason, and that process would have to play out after Summer Mania where you could really make history.
Right. And I can't drop the ball here, because if I drop the ball, then like you said, it's another fluke run. And I'm not trying to have 2 fluke runs on my resume. I'm not doing that. So I've got to do what I got to do. Whatever is going to happen with the XCW Championship is going to happen. So I'm going to have to either figure out how to, maybe one day face Eric or face Hunter, depending on who comes out, and see what's going to happen with that. And I'll have to, work my way to that.
So what's the pressure like now then going into this week? Well, I mean, I know you were world champ before, but that's years ago. So what's the pressure you feel is going to be like now? You got EBW, which is, I'm sure, going to certainly still want to deal with you because, you obviously were recording them for weeks. And on top of that, you eliminate Chris Jones, and all he talks about is targets. And I mean, I would have to think that means you're a target because he talked about targets on this platform. I guess that makes you a target, but then Brady's kind of involved. So, like, how are you going to deal with this new pressure, this newfound pressure that you have now being back on top?
Well, with pressure being on top, it's
you haven't been used to this in a long time, champ. This is
I know. I haven't been a world champ in a long time, but the pressure is different this time because I've earned it through hard work and ethics and morals.
You were the rising tide that lifted you a boat. Absolutely.
I did not have to use a briefcase. So the pressure is always there, whether you win it from a briefcase or you win it through hard work and dedication, right? But the thing about it is it's constant pressure. It's not one of those things where it eases up and then it's, comes back real hard. It's a constant hard pressure. So with that, if it's a hard pressure, you've got to be ready at every second. It's like the Minute Militia back in the day. As soon as they're called, they got to fight, right? That's where I'm at with the EBW Championship.
It reminds me if you're a basketball fan and you're a sixth man and coach, you don't start the game, but you've got actually the most difficult role because you have to come out there, coach calls you in. It could be at any given moment, and you're expected to perform. and to perform at a level higher than some of your teammates. And you're kind of in that position. So I think that that's obviously something that you're going to have to figure out and, deal with and such as a champion. You're going to have to be able to, deal with this newfound pressure.
Yeah. And the way I look at it, and this is going to, going back to basketball, I'm like the TJ McConnell for the Pacers of XCW. I've got to be ready, and I've got to.
You'll chuckle. By the way, I was actually, because I'm in New York, but I'm actually not a Knicks fan because I'm sort of leaning toward the Nets. I was kind of rooting for the Pacers actually over.
Obviously,
well, you're
Indiana,
but you are, but I'm not really a Knicks fan, so you probably chuckle when you hear that. So
yeah, I thought the Pacers had a better shot, but that's neither here nor there. This next,
I did too. I didn't think they get swept by Boston, but then again, Boston handled Dallas pretty easily. This might have been Boston's year.
That surprised me. I was not ready for that.
Let me ask you, though, this question as we're here, of course, with Julian Void Jacobs, the EBW champion, and also he was the man behind all the secret footage that was recorded by EBW these past several weeks. He is also the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. We have another 20 or 25 more minutes with the champion, and we're getting ready on the road to SummerMania. And stay tuned here on Sportswire Radio for coverage throughout the next several weeks for some of your favorite XCW superstars to get you ready on that road to SummerMania. Let me ask you this question. I don't know if you've thought about this, and this has been quite a last few days. Win your first world title in 7 years. Become a Grand Slam winner. You're the guy that officially reveals. You put the hidden camera footage out there so EBW secretly recorded, and now you're a Sportswire Radio Hall of Famer, which makes you a two-time Hall of Famer. Where does this rank up in your career? Is this the greatest week of your career? Where does this rank up in terms of your storied career?
Oh, it's definitely up there. I mean, I've not had this kind of a stretch in ever. I've not had this kind of mic drop boom level of things that I've ever done. So
I still think what you did, leaking the footage out saying you were the guy behind the EBW thing in a way is, to me, more the mic drop than you beating Law, because I thought you had a chance against Law. I thought you could win that match. You had momentum going into it. I agree with you. You were coming into it with some wins under your belt. You were the number one contender. I agree on that.
Yeah.
But to have that bravado to say, yeah, it was me behind the footage of EBW, I think that to me was more ballsy than anything else, you said or did right now.
Right. And it's all about the timing, right? So I knew once I won that triple threat, for the number one contendership, I knew that I had Jackson one-on-one. And I know that my skill set is just a tick better than Jackson in ring.
You had a size advantage. You had a veteran in terms of your experience advantage over him. You had the ability in terms of coming into with more momentum than him. I think I
also had I had two better wheels than he had. He was on a broken wheel, and I knew that there was some stuff that I could.
You're more of a student when it comes to studying your opponents. Yeah. I mean, you had some things going there, but to me, saying, yeah, I was the guy that put the hidden cameras out and recorded EBW, that to me was more mic drop.
Of course, and that all. I'm not going to say it all leads to SummerMania, but what I'm going to say is, it builds one hell of a story for SummerMania.
Listen, right now, let's think about it. I mean, you got this whole situation with Halkin and Mason, and then right there is you're the EBW champ, and you got this whole thing with EBW and utter chaos. And what happens with you in that? I mean, we know that Jones and Branson, I mean, they're basically again fighting.
Yep.
Cerebral's sitting there like this as usual. Miyano now is occupied with Tommy Merriman. They were the two of the last world champions. Mitchell Maverick is kind of in a worse spot than when he was with you. And then there's Luke Blaze with his glasses on and his sport jacket, kind of like throwing his hands up. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Even as an outsider, like I mean, I knew the mic drop was going to be, obviously the bombshell, but like, I didn't expect it to self-implode like it has.
I think it's a real sudden downturn. I mean, we talked about it 2 months ago at Allegiance. Every single person in XCW was eliminated. Yeah. That's where we were.
Mm-hmm. That's where we were. And that was, 3 months ago? 2 months ago?
Not even 2 months ago. Dude, it was 2 months ago.
And, it takes one guy. It just takes one guy.
Do you feel you were the guy then that's leading the charge right now for XCW? I mean,
Yeah. When it comes to, the XCW versus DBW and creating that downfall for that, yes.
I
But
mean, because let's think about it though. The Outliers, okay, yeah, the Outliers are there with you. I mean, Parsley and Slater are kind of in this, I don't know, like limbo.
mhm,
Halkin, okay, maybe Halkin, but Halkin, his state of mind is got to be totally all over the place because of Mason.
yeah.
I mean, Tommy Merriman's only out for Tommy Merriman, so maybe in a way you are the guy to lead the
Yeah.
charge for XCW.
Yeah, for right now, and it's like in every sport, right? The next man up. And
Yep.
right
We
now,
both
I'm
got sixth man. We're both basketball fans.
Yeah.
I mean, I played basketball. I covered it. You're the sixth man that all of a sudden
Yeah.
came out there and you provided some real sparks for XCW.
and now I'm on the court starting, right? So I've got to lead the charge. I've got to be that guy.
You definitely are that guy. I think right now you've shown, a big deal that you are. And, before we get into a few other things, I want to put it up on the screen one more time. If you haven't yet, go out there and follow us now on TikTok, because Sportswire Radio is on TikTok. And I actually put our video up of you coming on here and some other videos out there. So if you haven't yet got a chance and you're here right now on Sportswire Radio, in addition to being on sportswireradio.org, our internet radio station, we're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our great content, whether it's music, whether it's wrestling shows, whether it's sports and talk. And these shows get simulcasted here. For whatever reason, you don't want to see my long hair and mutton chops. You probably want to see the champ, but you may not want to see me. You can listen to us there also. But in addition to those things, we're also on TikTok now, because I've decided that people want to see us on TikTok, Instagram. I've got a lot of followers out there, Facebook as well. I'm considered to be according to Jack Delta, a influencer in the world of backyard underground wrestling. I'm not quite sure if that's accurate, but if you want to hit the like button and follow for us on TikTok now, you can do that. And also XCW, so many links. You want to buy some merchandise, you want to go to the XCW Shop Zone store, you can do that here. I've actually got the link for that right in front of me, because I always want to make sure we support those that support us here on Sportswire Radio. So make sure if you want to buy some merchandise, you want to buy some Julian Void Jacobs merchandise, definitely not going to buy some EBW merchandise. I can promise you that you'll definitely want to make sure that you go out there and support all things related to XCW, and make sure you do everything possible to go out and make sure that you are on the road to SummerMania. And that road to SummerMania pretty much leads, it seems to me, through Julian Void Jacobs. And he is here live right now. He is also the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And he is also now a two-time Hall of Famer. Of course, he's an XCW Hall of Famer. And he is also now a Sportswire Radio Hall of Famer. He is the 82nd member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And if you want to actually go to the Shop Zone store, I actually have it right here in front of me before I come into a few final thoughts, and it's right there. There you go. There you go. So if you want to go and get some merchandise, don't buy the Mitchell Maverick one, because Julian will be very upset. He will be very upset if you buy some of the merchandise. But there's a lot of other shirts here. You want to get them. There's almost pretty much everybody you can here possible. You want to just buy a simple XCW shirt, you can do that as well. Whatever it is, go out and support, especially Julian Void Jacobs right there. You got that shirt. All you got to do is get it. That's it. There it is. Southern Hampshire Institute. But let me ask you a few other questions before we get to closing thoughts. What is your goals here now for the rest of the year, and especially into SummerMania? It's simple, but still, what are your goals?
Yeah, simple, right? I want to keep holding the EBW title. I want to eventually, like we've already talked about before, I want to work and try to unify the XCW and the EBW title into one undisputed championship. And if that's possible, I want to be that guy. I don't want to drop the ball. I want to keep this ball rolling. I want to keep my momentum going. I've got a lot of momentum on my side right now. I've got a huge target on my back, and I'm ready for the fight.
What would it mean to you to unify, if the moment comes up, to unify the XCW and the EBW titles and to be the unified World Heavyweight Champion?
It'd mean a lot, right? Because it would be the first time that's ever happened. There's never been a unified double world title in XCW history. So if I could do that, I would be the first person to ever do it, and I would create a whole brand new belt that anybody could come and fight me for. and that would mean the world to me.
I'm going to ask you something, and I'm not sure how people are going to take this. You might chuckle at what I'm about to say. Everybody's talking about right now this documentary on called WCW. I'm sure you've heard about it, right? And what would you think if I were to tell you, I don't know, 1 year from now, 2 years from now, wherever it might be, if we were to have a documentary, who killed EBW? And the guy who killed EBW was Julian Void Jacobs. What would you say to that? I knew you'd laugh. See, I knew you because I was thinking about this all day. I'm like, how is he going to react? Because think about it, right? Everybody's talking about right now who killed WCW, and they were kind of going back and forth with it. Vince Russo's name came up. Eric Bischoff's name came up with it. The merger from AOL to Time Warner. It was Brad Siegel and the wrestlers themselves. Hogan came up. But if you think about EBW right now, I mean, if we were to have this documentary, right? Let's say it's a year from now, right? Let's say if the way things are going and EBW stays in this shambles and it's permanently broken, right?
Yeah.
And who killed EBW?
It'd be me.
It's Julian Void Jacobs, right? Would it have to be? I mean, it's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, no, it would definitely be me because I mean, the obviously the secret recordings have all started this whole process, and then with those recordings, you saw the. Oh, well, let's not tell, this or that, or, hey, let's make sure that this guy's not out here for this show, blah, blah, blah. It's like, where's the unification? I thought you guys were all a solid, oh my goodness, all a solid team in solidarity, but clearly it's not.
Oh, I think there's no question.
Yeah, clearly not.
It's not. I mean, but that's why I would say, who killed EBW? Julian Void Jacobs, with all the turn of events, would have to be you. I mean, it's not. Can't say it's Fletch right now. Can't say it's Corey Lee from years ago. Can't say it's anybody else. I mean, I guess maybe you could say Tommy Merriman. Maybe you could say Brady Branson, Chris Jones. Maybe you could throw those names out there, Luke Blaze, for a lack of leadership. But really, it's you.
Yeah,
you're the guy that right now, if it's all after what we saw at Extreme King, it all ends after this. You're the guy that really killed EBW.
Yeah, as of right now, yeah, for sure. And anything can happen from here on out, but the way it's going right now, I don't see EBW turning it around. Especially if I'm in charge of it, it's not turning around.
Now, we have less than 8 weeks to SummerMania. Obviously, we're going to see a lot of footage. Again, XCW's websites. Go out there and check out everything at XCW. I'll put the YouTube channel up one more time where you can rewatch Extreme King. And again, we're pushing toward 1,000 views. But before I get to a few other things, do you have an idea who do you think you'd want to face at SummerMania for the EBW title?
In a perfect world,
does Law get a rematch with you, or what do you think? What do you think?
In a perfect world, right? You would, me being XCW, pumping through my veins, through and through. Why not the guy who bleeds EBW of James Cerebral versus XCW Void for SummerMania? Why not? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but why not?
Interesting.
I've been XCW for, I've been Team XCW every single year. And every year that EBW's ever been around, it's always been James Cerebral.
And what better way to put the nail in the coffin of EBW by beating James Cerebral, right?
At SummerMania on the biggest stage under the biggest lights. Why not?
But will James Cerebral be able to make up his own mind?
That's where it's at.
He doesn't seem to be able to do that.
No, it's all. Luke Blaze is very strategic on how he runs his faction and his team and whatever you want to call it. So I don't know who I'll get for SummerMania, but I'll be ready.
Well, that's it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Brady Branson doesn't seem like he wants anybody involved. I mean, I just think that's. Does Brady Branson want to run what's left of EBW? Do you think that's a part of it?
They very well could be. I don't. I think Brady is in it for Brady. just like Tommy was in it for Tommy. I think Brady thought that this was going to be a rocket ship to the moon, and right now it's not. Obviously, it's not. It hasn't been for the last.
They've hit some turbulent times, and they need to figure out a way to
they got to figure out
safely
how to
land the plane.
Yeah,
It reminds me of, I tell this story to people sometimes as to why I haven't flown. I was a kid. My parents, the only time I went on a vacation on an airplane, we went to Florida, and coming back to New York, we were landing to LaGuardia at the time. And the plane, which from Florida to New York is supposed to be like a 2.5-hour plane ride, if that, it took like 2.5 hours, literally from where we were about to land. It was just circling for 2.5 hours. Right. And that was to the point was basically, I thought that the plane was going to crash, and, probably wouldn't be speaking to me. But the point is, in a way, it's the same situation that EBW is in right now. EBW right now has got all this turbulence that I don't know if they can safely land the plane. And it could be, like I've said throughout the show tonight, that it could be the end. That's why I think the moral of the story is you might have been the guy that finally in the heart of EBW. Maybe what better way to do that permanently at Summer Mania by doing that with James Cerebral and beating him,
Yeah. Yep. It's only time can tell what can happen. But like I said before, any opponent I get, I'll be ready for. Whether it's an EBW opponent, whether it's an EBW opponent, I'll be ready.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm excited about it. You should be as well. XCW is now officially on the road to Summer Mania. It's the biggest show of the year for XCW, and XCW coverage has returned here on Sportswire Radio. We had a wonderful conversation with, I guess, a guy that's on your team in Brogan O'Shea. And the Outliers, of course, he is one half of the tag team champions, a fellow Grand Slam winner like yourself. And he was talking about his road to Summer Mania. And obviously, he's working with Fletch, and we'll see how that goes. But certainly you have the EBW championship, and it was very similar to how when Brogan won the title from Miano Diaz months ago, and a very emotional victory, emotional win for you as well. And also, if you want to go hit that sub button and relive Extreme King and get ready for that road to Summer Mania, you have the XCW links here on YouTube, especially over 1,500 subscribers, and Extreme King already is closing in on 500 views. So make sure you go out there and watch it, rewatch it, relive that moment of Julian Voy Jacobs becoming a Grand Slam winner, winning his first world championship in 7 years, and being the guy that it's revealed that he was the one that was putting the hidden cameras to record EBW. And when we see EBW is right now, you're going to see him in action, XCW TV. That's all the links. They're also below, is where you can go hit the sub button, like and follow XCW. And also, I hope that everybody goes out there and follows us here on Sportswire Radio. And also, we're now on TikTok at Sportswire Radio. All right, so obviously, you're the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. I want to ask you one more question before closing thoughts. What do you want to say to everybody here tonight? You're now in the Hall of Fame. You're back on top. Is there any other things that you want to address to the public before we sign off tonight?
No, well, I just want to thank everybody that's been behind me for so long, that's struggled with me to watch me fall and, work my way back to the top. I'm finally back up here, and if it wasn't for the people behind me, I wouldn't be able to do it. So with that, I want to say thanks to everybody that supported me and everybody that continues to support XW, buying the merch, buying, the shirts, the stuff, and, I'm pretty sure
that's how it runs. Listen, you got to have the merchandise. People don't realize sometimes that these things are very expensive. They're very timely. So, we know that XCW guys put a lot into it, and, go out and buy a shirt. Go out there and hit a like button, hit a sub button, 1,000+ subscribers. That helps XCW in a small way. And there's a lot that can be done out there, whether it's just hitting a following, liking, subscribing, buying that merchandise, and just whatever it is. Everybody's on the same team. All wrestling matters. XCW talent is also a part of Summer Bash, which takes place next weekend, July 5th to July 7th. We've got a slew of XCW stars that are going to be there. We've got XCW coverage throughout the next several weeks on Sportswire Radio. A lot of great people are coming back to Sportswire. Very excited about that. in addition to Justin Parson. He's always here, but there's other people coming here as well. I'm really excited about that, and I want to share those details. In fact, Remy Ravage is going to be one of those people, and you've brought more of your fans out there, so I could see that you're getting ready to play with the pets, so that means it's time to obviously get to some closing thoughts. So it's been a great honor, champ, and I'm so happy you came back here. What an emotional last 4 days for you. Just, I could obviously see the dog is happy. You've definitely got the support of the dog fans, but obviously I want to turn it over to you. I want to give you any closing thoughts and anything else you want to plug, share, or say, and the floor is absolutely yours.
Yeah, just, like we've said before, we the link for the merch is on, the Sportswire Radio website. It's also on the XCW website. You can, Facebook us at, XCW Shelbyville, and it's on there as well. The link to the actual XCW website's on there.
Absolutely.
So everything that you need for XCW, anything, you have the XCW All Access on Instagram or on YouTube, and then you have, all of us on Instagram, X, and everywhere. So
yeah, XCW's and everything. TikTok, even, you guys. I just joined TikTok.
We have a TikTok channel, so we're everywhere. So we're doing stuff all the time. We're always recording and shooting something. So.
Oh, I mean, on XCW, it's 24-hour coverage. I mean, there's
sure.
really, there's only really the only promotion that covers 24 hours worth of footage is XCW, and you've got the XCW website there, which gives you all the great links: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, X is out there, TikTok. If you want to see upcoming events, that's going to be Backfire, the Road to Summer Mania, all leads to the XCW website. So please go out there and support XCW. Anything we can do. And also, I have one more comment from a guest coming on here in 2 weeks, all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. So we've attracted fans from Atlanta. And that's my friend, Mr. Michael Blackheart, not the other one you saw in Extreme King, but he says, great show tonight, and indeed, I'm seeing future opponents for the list of Blackheart. So there you go. You never know. You're getting other people out there in the world, and they might want to test their skills in XCW. You never know. We've seen that before. We saw Scott EBW at Extreme King. Holden Holloway, by the way, who's the ALW champion, has now been making his name in XCW. He was here last night, by the way. So I did have XCW coverage last night because I had Holden Holloway for about 20 minutes, and we talked about Extreme King, and he had a shot at the Outliers. Big man Cam is always here. He's another guy who's actually bigger than you, but thankfully it took like 7 guys to get rid of him, and you actually got a couple of eliminations out. You don't have to worry about that. But yes, XCW coverage is on the way. And Michael Blackheart, who's going to be here 2 weeks from tonight, is obviously setting his sights on Shelbyville, Indiana. So is everybody else. And I can't wait for more XCW coverage here on Sportswire Radio, where it's always all wrestling matters. And champ, congratulations. Thank you so much for being here. Really a great time to have you. I think it's the right time. Brogan was here. I think it's a good time to be back with Sportswire and XCW. We had a great conversation with Brogan. A lot of people were happy about that. You being here after an emotional last few days and to kind of carry that momentum of Extreme King and get us ready to the Road to Summer Mania. And congratulations on being a Grand Slam winner. Congratulations on winning your first world title in 7 years. Congratulations for being the guy, I guess you might want to say, that is putting EBW to a Who Killed EBW show on XCW All Access. And also, but most importantly for us, congratulations on becoming the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. You are definitely the definition of a rising tide that will lift all boats. And we'll see you here hopefully soon on the Road to Summer Mania.
Absolutely. I'd love to be back on. I appreciate everything, Tom.
I appreciate it too. This was a great conversation. It feels very good to have all the XCW guys back here. And that was Julian Void Jacobs. He is the EBW champion of the world, as I stated, won his first world title in 7 years. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters. And if you were on Sportswire Radio, I'm going to be back here in about 40 minutes or so. I'm going to be here with the coach, Chris Craven. He's got an announcement. He's got something to say. And if you're out there for the first time, we're on TikTok right now, so hit the sub button for us on TikTok, hit the follow. We're also on Instagram at the Sports Report 2021, Facebook at Sportswire Radio at Tom Bryce. I'm also on X at Thomas Bryce 2017 and Sportswire Radio.org, our internet radio station, where we can see a slew of great shows, and this show gets simulcasted each and every time. And also thank you everybody to the Promo Wrestling Federation YouTube page you joined in, the Pride Wrestling Federation YouTube page you joined in. If you're out there on YouTube, hit the sub button for those, and I really appreciate your time and support. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see everyone in a little while. And champ, congratulations. We are here on the #1 global radio station that is Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters. I'll see everybody in about 40 minutes.